middle-aged musician, and I'm going to show you a magic trick. So I'm going to play this chord here, and so this is I have a G, it's a triad, G. I have my 5 here, so G, D, and here I have an A. So it's a G suspended 2 chord, G sus2. Here's a magic trick. I'm going to magically transform this chord into a D sus4. Watch. How'd that work? Well, before, this was my root, this was my 5, here's a 2. Now I'm going to change it so this is my root, the D. Here's my 5, here's a 4, D sus4. It's the same 3 notes, right? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk a little bit about putting together triads and how we think about the relationship between those notes. I'm also going to talk about, as we walk through, say, the chromatic scale, those 12 notes, every one of those has a place, has some notation to it. It's either going to be a 5th or flat 5th or minor 6 or flat 7. Whatever it is, there's a name for it, and those will fit into one of the modes. So today's video, what I want to talk about is the way that we look at the chords and moving those roots around, and the fact that you can essentially take any combination of notes and have a chord. And that combination of notes, so you have 3 different notes, you can have at least 3 different chords. If you consider partial chords, even more than that. So stay tuned, we'll get a little bit deeper into this. Okay, so let's take our venerable G chord here. There's our G, there's our B, that's our 3, there's our D, that's our 5. So let's set this as root. This going to show us there's our 3rd, there's our 5. It's really not telling us much because it's open. So let's change. So this is now our root. We're going to take that 3rd, that B, and we're going to set it as our root note. So now we have this guy. If we go over 1 string, down 2 frets, that's our minor 3rd. So this is a B minor, and we have that flat 6. So it's a B minor with a 6, a B minor 6 chord. Let's set this guy as our root. That's the D. With the D as our root, now we have this 4, major 4, perfect 4. So that is our, that's a D sus chord we know already. There's no 5. It's a little bit of a funny chord. It's a partial chord. But we have the D with the suspended 4 and a 6th. So it's a D sus4 6. Kind of weird jazz chord sort of thing, but we know it's the same as a G, or in the other cases a B minor 6. So let's clear this. Let's go back to the chord shape I was showing earlier. So go here and here. Okay, so we're going to set the G as our root. And as mentioned previously, there's our 5. So kind of like a power chord, here's our root and our 5. And there's our 2. So we have a suspended 2 chord. There's no 3. Suspended chords, we're going to replace the 3 with a 2 or a 4. So this is a G sus2 chord. If we look at the same set of 3 notes from the perspective of this D being the root, now we see here's our 5, and here's our 4. So we have a D sus4. Same 3 notes as the G sus2, but now we have a D sus4. Now we're going to take this A, set it as our root, and now we have an A with the sus4, but now we have the flat 7. So we would be Mixolydian, or at the very least, but is kind of what you would think of as with that flat 7. Now the purist would say, okay, normally with an inversion, we're going to lead with the 3 or the 5. But that, well, I say a purist, early on in the learning the musical lexicon, we like to think about, okay, we have the 1, the 3, and the 5. We'll add some notes, sometimes replace some notes, maybe we'll change the order. But the 1 and the 3 and the 5 are really rule of the day. But again, you can have partial chords. You can even have a partial chord where the root is missing. So anyway, the point here is to demonstrate that by doing nothing other than changing the perspective of how you look at the note ordering, in other words, who is the root, you change this into another chord altogether. Well, these chords are obviously related because they have the same 3 notes. But those same 3 notes, if you look at them from a different perspective, make a different chord. So there's one magic trick. So if you're wondering what tool I'm using in order to manipulate these chord diagrams, and you probably notice it on the title bar of the tool, it's Neck Diagrams. It's a great tool. There's a free version, there's a paid version available. You can access it through the affiliate links. My affiliate links, I'm an affiliate for it, Neck Diagrams. So a great tool to try out, and as you can see in some of the demonstration, there's a number of useful, powerful things you can do. For instance, changing the root and seeing where everything is relative to that. So feel free to try it out, and hope you enjoy the rest of this video. So I'll try illustrating this. So we'll take our G, or the G sharp, there's our 2, flat 3, 3, 4, flat 5, 5, flat 6, major 6, flat 7, 7, and back to our root, right? So there's 12 notes in an octave, right? Between a G and a G. When we count this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then you're back to your root, right? So let's go ahead and set this as our root and see what this tells us. So there we have. There's our root, our flat 2, our regular 2, flat 3, regular 3, perfect 4th, flat 5, perfect 5, flat 6, regular 6, flat 7, our regular 7, and our root. And basically what this tells us is that when you lay out all of the notes in an octave, you have to identify what each one of these is. So each one of these notes has a place and a purpose. There's no skipped notes. So from that, we can start deriving a few things. But hopefully this illustrates what I just, if it didn't make sense when I was doing it on the fretboard, hopefully this gives you a better visual representation. Chromatic scale that we had. Basically, it's all of the notes between the root and the root. And we looked at, okay, if this is our starting point, what are the rest of the notes? And from this standpoint, if we start with a G, as we do here, every A is going to be our perfect second. Every A flat is going to be our flat second, on so forth. But if we just think about the sort of the shapes of these relationships, right? So if we go over one string, down 1 fret, we're always going to find our major third. If we go down 1 more fret, we're going to find our flat third. Same as if we go up 3 frets on the same string, we're going to find our flat third. If we go over 1 string and up 2, we're always going to find our perfect 5th. 1 string and over 2, we're going to find our root. The only exception to this really is the B string. Throws in a wrench because it's a third apart, not a fourth apart, as all the other strings are, going from low to high. But so every note has a relationship. For instance, it's not here, but this note right here, if I put this note in, that's going to be our perfect 7th. That's going to be our flat 7th, right? Let's go ahead and remove those. So what we're going to do is we're just going to walk through and start changing our root. And notice how these relationships maintain But we can start thinking about, instead of starting the anchor with the first note here, we can also think about sort of what's underneath, what's behind us. So if we have our root here on the 5th fret, this is key of A, we've got our flat 3rd right here, perfect 4th, perfect 5th. There's our flat 7. You pick any one of these. So again, we'll go here. And if we just say, okay, we're going to start with our root here. And we want to pick some random chord. So let's just say we want to do this. Right? So here we basically have like a sus2 chord. Our root, the 5, and the 2. With the 2 being the leading, it's an inversion there. Put that there. Now we have a sus4 with a root in the middle. That would be an F. Just to recap, the idea here is that when we have a chord, we have a combination of notes. And different chords have different combinations of notes. Triads will have 3 notes. We have some chords that have more than 3 notes. And we think about those notes in relation to each other, the intervals between them. And so if you just start with a normal triad, you take any chord you normally play, a C, a G, an A, whatever. If you change what the root note is, those other notes still have some relationship to that note. And if we just start with the major scale and the major mode, you'll have notes that are chromaticisms. They maybe don't belong in that scale, that mode. But if you sort of broaden your horizons a little bit and think across all of the modes, every one of these notes has a place. And you can use that to powerfully to think about different ways you can build arpeggios, different ways to kind of put together melodies, some ways to put some unexpected tones in a progression, and also, I think most importantly, to think about your fretboard geometry and how the different intervals map out on the fretboard, which I think is a very powerful thing for you to use in terms of improvising and building melodies. So hopefully this made sense. Hopefully it's useful. As always, feel free to leave comments, constructive criticism. I'd love to get ways to make these better and more compelling. This is a topic that I really don't discuss with most students, so I haven't really workshopped this a lot. So any kind of feedback would be welcome. So thank you, and have a good rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever.